Hey, do you want to know some powerful communication tools that every couple should put into practice? I've got a 95% stat that you'll want to hear that is a key indicator of whether your relationship will be successful or not. So stick around for that. The first thing that I want to talk about is authenticity. When we look at a relationship and we look at all of the aspects of it, this is, to me, the most crucial component of how you can show up and have a very, very good way of communicating. Authenticity takes practice. It's something that doesn't just happen to us. It's actually something that you have to nurture within yourself. And I talk a lot about authenticity and vulnerability on this channel. So if this is something that you're into, do me a favor. Click subscribe so you don't miss any of these videos, and you'll learn how to be authentic in the best way that you can, because it is a powerful thing, authenticity. Authenticity is the very thing that allows people to see who you are, to understand who you are, and affirm that within yourself. And as this happens, when you are authentic, it reaffirms to yourself that who you are is of value. What I see happening all the time in relationships, and I have done this myself, is you see somebody that you really love, you admire, you want to get to know them, you want to get close, and then you immediately begin to hide those pieces of yourself that you think may cause them to dismiss you. This is not authenticity. This is trying to control outcomes. And we can do this. We do this all the time. It is a cultural thing through shame that is put upon us, where we find it very difficult to show up authentically when we're trying to win favor, right? It happens so frequently, in fact, that it becomes an element within ourselves that we must ferret out. There are some people that are naturally good at it. They come with a really high level of self-worth, and that is really the key to authenticity, is understanding that you have value no matter what you've been through, no matter what's happened, no matter what place you are in your life. Your authentic self, when shown, then begins to allow you to see, I do have value. Because when you act authentically, people affirm that, and man, it lets you know, hey, I can be who I am and people like me. Versus if you're trying to show up and win favor and they like you for dismissing pieces of yourself, what it affirms for you is, my real self is not acceptable. I have to act in this way to be loved. And that is very, very diminishing to a relationship that you're in. It's diminishing to yourself. So we've got to kind of change that perspective. The second thing that we really need to look at if we're going to develop a good relationship with healthy communication is how we greet each other and how we depart. And this is specifically for your intimate relationships, right? The people that you love. And, you know, to a lesser degree, you can do this with people that are your friends too. You just don't do it to the extent, right? But John Gottman has a whole concept around greetings and departures that help really nurture good compatibility within relationships. And in these relationships, the moments of greeting and departure are kind of these gateway moments that set the tone for how you're going to stay in this relationship, how you're going to interact with each other. And he says, every single time with your partner, the person that you love, when you depart and you leave, you must have a meaningful connection. So when you say goodbye, when you leave for work at the beginning of the day, you hold each other, you come together, you embrace in a deep embrace, not a quick, but a deep embrace where your bodies begin to settle in with each other. Have you hugged somebody long enough that you kind of let that tension slide? Oh, you settle in, you begin to feel each other's heartbeats, and you connect. We're built for connection, humans. We are. It is part of our DNA. And so when we allow this to happen, it reconnects us to our spouse as we're about to head out the door, or our significant other. And then you should have a deep kiss, not a peck, a deep, meaningful kiss goodbye. You do that, it sets the tone for your day. You walk out the door, you get that little hit of love that carries you through the day, and then when you come home, the first thing that you do is you greet your partner. Again, with a deep, long kiss and a meaningful hug until you can settle out of that. When you come in from a day, maybe you're feeling just a lot of weight and stress from all that has happened. You're significant other might also be in that situation with the work and the chaos of kids and all the things that come around in our lives. It can be very hard to step out of that, and you can move right into, I need to get this done, I need to get that done. And what it does is it dismisses the relationship that you're trying to nurture. But if you will step out of that chaos for just a minute and hold each other, reconnect with each other, hug each other, kiss each other, that then brings you back into compatibility. It lets you feel and see that this is the person that I'm doing this thing for. This is the person that is giving me that foundation, that rock upon which I want to build. That is the power of this John Gottman concept of greetings and departures that helps set a tone in your relationships that if you do, will carry you through. So let's stop here, and I want to ask you, what do you think of this concept of what greetings and departures? Let me know. Make some comments below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. The third point, how you engage in conversation. What do you do? There are moments where there's positive bids for affirmation or concepts. When you're talking to each other, what do you do that allows you to engage and not turn it into a fight? Because what happens often is when you get to know somebody, right, when you really get comfortable, you begin to understand, wow, we have a diverse range of opinions on a lot of subjects. You don't always agree. And that's good. You shouldn't have to agree with that person you're with at all times. But you always want them to know that you respect them. And these engagements, when we're having conversations, can be handled in a really great way. And I just rely on John Gottman for this stuff because John Gottman's research behind this is overwhelming. He doesn't just make up theories about relationships that work. He does research that defines these are the actions that if you do will sustain a relationship. And it's very simple stuff if you put it into place. But conversation bids are, for example, if you're having a discussion about an idea and your significant other says something that you like and you think is interesting, but you have a point that you're like, I think you missed that point in what you just said, which is very, very common. Rather than immediately stepping into the point that you want to make, the first thing you say is, you made a really good point. I like what you said there. That immediately allows them to know, I heard you. I was listening to you. I like what you said, and I think that your thoughts are worth listening to. Lowers the defensiveness of anyone that you're talking to, and then you can say, and I have something that I'd like to add to that. Or I have another direction or another angle that I'd like to talk about. And in that moment, you're not dismissing what they're saying. You're simply saying, I have another nuance. This is a nuanced discussion, as all things are. And if you will do that, you'll find your conversations don't turn into angry debates. They remain interesting, engaged, enlightening. And they affirm the value of the person you're talking to. This is a really, really powerful thing. And when you do that, I've done this not only in my relationships with people that I like, but even in business. This is a powerful thing. It really helps you get into the core issue and get deeper into a conversation without turning things into debate, right? So this is what I love about John Gottman. He shows you these small little nuances and changes that actually build relationships instead of diminishing them. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is another John Gottman thing that a lot of people have heard about. It's called the 4 horsemen. Make sure you stick around to the end because I'm going to tell you about my own marriage and how that happened. The 4 horsemen that John Gottman, this is point number 4, perfect, number 4, 4 horsemen, they are something that you really need to watch. It's a biblical reference, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. If you see evidence of these in your marriage, particularly if you see there is contempt, there is criticism, there is stonewalling, and there is defensiveness. These are the 4 horsemen. If these are evident in your relationship, you need to get to the bottom of it quickly. Or if they cannot be dealt with, leave that relationship. If you have contempt, if you're speaking and that person you're talking to is rolling their eyes, sneering, 95% of all relationships fail when contempt is evident. That is a powerful statistic. So contempt is a killer. These are the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse of your relationship. You see them anywhere in your relationship. I would suggest if you cannot fix them through marriage therapy or through discussion, get out. And the reason I want to tell you this is because of my own personal experience. In my marriage, I was taught about all this. And then I could see that in myself, I had defensiveness. I had stonewalling. I had contempt. I had all of these things. And I began to work on this because I realized, oh my gosh, as I was taught this, my ex was a therapist and she would tell me about these things. I realized, wow, these are problems within our marriage. And I began to reflect on myself and how to do it, and I began to practice these things, and it was really, really great because before I knew about it, I couldn't see them in myself. What I discovered as I did my own work, and as I began to learn what these were, and as I began to try to ferret them out and be open and honest and really accepting of my ex, I wasn't getting the same in return. I began to recognize contempt in the face of my ex. I began to recognize defensiveness and criticism. And I was like, wow. And at the point we had gotten to where we had done a lot of work in therapy, we realized this is not changing. This is what it is. And I was showing up authentically, and in my authentic self, the contempt was there and evident. I had people in my life that liked me as I was authentically. And that became the point at which I knew it was over. And so you take these things that John Gottman has laid out for us, it's just an easy template, and you begin to apply it and look into yourself and really delve into it. You can turn a relationship around, or you can end it knowing you did all you could and that this is not the person for you. And it's a nice way to end, not feeling like you don't know if you should have done more or less. Because when your authentic self appears and you do these things that John Gottman has outlined for you, and you're not being met with love and excitement and compassion, you know it's over. So that's my story of what I learned from how to become compatible in relationships. I really appreciate people that have done the research to help us. So if you want to see more on relationships, I got a video, How Not to Self-Sabotage a Healthy Relationship. It's a great one. I'd love you to stick around, watch it. I'm James Burnham. Thanks for joining me.